Real people, real breakthroughs. This is the Psychology of Eating podcast, where psychology and nutrition meet to uncover the true causes of our unwanted eating concerns. Your relationship with food will never be the same. Now, here's your host, eating psychology expert, and founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, Mark David.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Mark David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and we're back in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Pat today. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, Mark. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. And let me just say a couple of quick words to viewers and listeners. If you're a returnee to this podcast, thank you for being on this journey with us. If you're new to this podcast, here's how it works. So Pat and myself are meeting each other officially for the first time right now, and we're going to have a session together. We're going to go about 45 minutes and see if we can push the fast forward button on a little bit of transformation. So, Miss Pat, if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted from this session together, tell me what that would be for you.
Okay, I will definitely would love to change my relationship with food, transform my relationship with food. I have had body image issues for the longest of time. That is something that it's getting better as I get to work with you guys and I get to follow your program. I'm currently on the Transform Your Relationship with Food program that is helping me a lot. So I feel I'm making some progress, but when life gets complicated, I tend to take it on food. Like I'm an emotional eater. I will describe myself like that. And I also had some body image relationships. So I would like some body image issues. So I would like to transform that and be more at peace where I'm at, be more of acceptance of who I am as a person. Find myself into a more calm, peaceful place.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not in that calm, peaceful place, what does it look like or what does it sound like in your head?
As far as eating habits?
Yeah. Yeah. As far as eating habits. Let's start with that.
Well, as a business owner, I'm always on the go. I'm always on the run. Always busy teaching fitness classes and taking care of business matters. So I usually tend to sometimes skip meals. And then towards the end of the day, I'm more or less starving, right? And then I tend to sometimes eat more than I would like to. Sometimes I'm binge eating just because I'm holding on sometimes to too much stress of the day, or sometimes that because I'm too hungry, and mostly like that. So I will something that I don't have right now for when I'm not on calm, like you say. I don't have like any structure that I follow, and sometimes that gets too much out of the way, and then end up, just feel like a snowball rolling, and it gets bad sometimes for a couple of days until I finally, can find some peace again, maybe on the weekends or stuff like that.
So when you say it gets bad for a couple of days, what is it? Tell me what that means for you. It means you're eating a lot at night, you're eating a lot after work. Like, what does it look like?
Mostly at the end of the day, when I can finally get home and get to take a time for myself, or sometimes if the day has been a little bit too busy or a little bit stressful with different things, I tend to eat more. I wouldn't say I eat large quantities, right? I don't eat a lot, probably like a normal person would eat, but it's just like the way of eating, right? Like maybe too fast and not really enjoying myself, not enjoying the food, or sometimes I don't have much time between I finish eating until I go to sleep. And then it's just the next day I wake up with a heavy stomach. I feel bad for not taking care of myself properly that prior day, and then it kind of accumulates a little bit, like that cycle of feeling guilty. And then when you're an emotional eater, food it's either there to to give you comfort or to punish you. So it's a little bit that, like sometimes for a couple of days, is that that feeling of guilt, right?
Yes.
And then it just keeps going maybe for a little while. But it's just my thoughts, right, of beating myself up for maybe not following schedule, not taking care of myself, or spending too much time without eating properly. And then I know that at the end of the day, I'm just going to be, starving and maybe not having too much control.
Mm-hmm. What helps you get back on track?
Things that when I have what I will call free time, right? Maybe during the weekend that my business it has a more flexible schedule and I don't teach many classes and I have more time to maybe do some reading or do some physical activity that I always, helps me to release that energy, some yoga practice or some running that I have started recently. When I have time to stay a little more connected with myself, I would say then I can follow schedule and I can be more present, more aware.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When you overeat or when you find yourself eating too much, is it certain foods that you go for, or it could be anything?
I have a sweet tooth, so it's definitely sweets and things that maybe are not the healthiest, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And how long you been doing this?
Well, like I said, I think I had body image issues from a very early age. But I would say that the relationship with food and a little bit the struggle with food started from very early, from maybe as a kid, starting comparing myself with others around. But it always changed, I had a time when I could say I was a little bit anorexic, then there was a time when I would be more like a binge eating. And all that, as I grew older, all that kind of went away, as I became aware that it's not a healthy way of living. And then it was harming myself too much. But I still continue to have some issues, with food. It's either there, I wouldn't say it's, I don't know how everybody else relate to food, right? Because I can only have my experience. But I would say that maybe it's not the most normal that I could have. Like maybe sometimes thinking about food for too much, or sometimes always, being concerned what to eat, what not to eat. But I would say it always changed, I would say there are seasons in my life where something was strongest. But since I can remember from very early age, maybe 5-6 years old, yeah.
Why do you think, and there's no right or wrong answer here, why do you think the body image issues started? Where do you think they came from?
When I was a kid, I was a little bit chubby. Not overweight, but I was, when I look at pictures of myself as a baby, I was chubby. And then until I was a teenager, I was, like having a little belly or maybe like thick legs and stuff like that. And I would compare myself. I don't know how it started, but I always compare myself like either with my sister. My sister was always skinnier. I always liked sweets, so I always, eat too much sweets as a kid too. And there were sweets around my house. My parents like sweets also up until today. And there was always, sweet stuff to eat, and I will always, eat more. So I was naturally, a little bit more heavier than other kids that I will see around. So I think I compare myself all the time from that time. I'm not really sure how it started, but I was aware of that.
Mm-hmm. Are there any times, let's say during the month, where you notice it's just better for you, you're not worried as much, the body image issues are better, the emotional eating might be better than usual? Yeah.
Not through the month. No, I wouldn't say there's a cycle through the month. I think it's directly related to things that could be happening with my life at the moment. Sometimes I own a business. Sometimes there's some business struggles, some struggles with business partners, some struggles with, I don't know, with daily operation things that sometimes just gets too much on my own way. And because I always had a personality where I always tried to, like very perfectionist, like I always tried to do the best and always be the best on my own head, even though, like I know I tried hard or I give my best, but sometimes on my own head is not good enough. So that part, so if things are not happening or going the way I would like them to be, then sometimes I take it on myself, like I should be doing more, I should be taking this, and then that's mostly. But I don't think that is, I think it's mostly related to situations or things, facts happening in life that then I get too stressed about, and then I just take it on myself.
Sure, that makes total sense. Are you close with your parents?
You could say that, even though they're still, or my whole family still living in my country, we communicate, through Skype, we communicate through emails and stuff. I could say we have a good relationship, yeah.
How's your mother's relationship with her body and with food?
I know you were gonna ask that due to other podcasts, and I was thinking about that. She had a normal relationship with food, I would say. There was a time when she was, taking care of herself, more like as far as watching what she was eating. She was exercising maybe more and trying to lose some weight. I remember maybe when I was a teenager, but she always had like a more normal relationship, nothing more obsessed about it. Okay. Yeah.
So I have a question for you, and I want you to answer, if you can, as 100% honestly as you can. Do you want to change anything about your body right now in terms of its look or its shape?
I don't want to lose weight. I know I'm a healthy weight right now, but I definitely try to work out these days more, just to to tone and to build like my cardiovascular capacity. I like to improve a little bit like my health as far as using workouts to be stronger or to feel healthier. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think there's always issues, right? Like we would like to have like maybe a more flat belly or stronger arms or more definition in the muscles, all these things, but it's not an obsession that I have right now. I know if I stay consistent with my workout, that's going to be accomplished with time. Yeah.
Got it. How old are you?
I'm 37.
Are you planning on having kids?
No, not that I think of, no.
Mm-hmm. Is that a good decision for you? Do you feel good about that?
I think so. Yeah. It's an interesting question. I think that I was never. I dedicated my early 20s to my career. I finished my college degree, and then I went into finishing a doctorate. I have a PhD. So my whole early 20s, I was, fully focused on my career. And I was never, I don't know if this, I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I'm not a woman that I was always, drawn to have kids. I never really saw myself like a mom. I never had that interest. And I have, a very well-established relationship with my fiancé for more than 10 years now. But we both, we never really saw ourselves like parents. We never really planned, and I guess it just never happened. We never really looked for it. And I think at this age, I don't think that will happen. We have talked about it, and we are fine as where we are right now. So yeah. I think I'm content. It's not something that I'm missing. If had that happened, I think I would be fine. We'll have him very well welcome. But I think it just didn't happen, and I don't think I'm going to be looking for it, right, in the near future.
Sure. Yeah. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Who do you want to be?
That's a beautiful question. I kind of have stopped thinking long term for a little while, just to because sometimes can be a little bit stressful, right? I try to be more at the present moment and try to be content, because that's one of my biggest struggles. I always been a goal-driven person, and planning and trying to have like a well-planned, organized life. So I don't think like that as much. But to answer your question, I definitely 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. I think it will be the same answer. I would like to be, content with my profession. I think I have found my passion with what I do, which is of being of service of others. Teaching yoga, I teach a healing yoga that is a lot about healing physically, emotionally. So I love doing that, and I love being of service of others, especially when I connect to my students and I see them making progress on their life and being more of acceptance, right, of themselves. So I would love to be able to make a living out of that. Sometimes we have a new studio, so we're still kind to settle our business and everything. And I would like to have a career more of on the wellness industry. What you guys do, I find fascinating and beautiful. Really like a beautiful service. But I would like to be content to what I do for a living, and feel fulfilled. That I'm of service, and I'm connected with what I can call my calling or my passion. I think that's what I would like to see myself. Yeah,
Understood.
Be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think because when I'm happy with what I do, I feel that everything else falls into place. So that's why it's a little bit my priority. Yeah.
Great. So when I say the word perfectionism, what does that mean to you?
Sometimes, I can track it back to my early years. I grew up with a family that was not the wealthiest, yeah. So my parents, from the earliest age, they always told my sister and myself to do our best, to work hard, to have an education, right? I remember being very young, and at the time not understanding much about it, but having my father telling us, look, we are not going to be able to give you material things, after we're gone. We're not going to be able to give you like a big bank account or a big house or these kind of material things. But if there's something we can give you, it's going to be a good education, something that nobody will take away from you. So that's something that gets, on my mind all the time. And from high school, primary school, I always try to do the best, in my studies. And I always accomplish, that, being always, top of the class up to my college and everything. I think that perfectionist feeling came from that, for not disappointing others that were, hoping for me to give the best. And I think that probably from that time, that became part of me, that always trying to be the best. And when sometimes, life happens, sometimes things can get a little bit out of control. Sometimes I tend to blame myself, right? That I didn't do enough, or start thinking I'm not good enough, these kind of things. So I think that perfectionist feeling comes from that mostly.
And here we are, just where we need to be, I think, right now. Because I think for you, this is really where the action is. I think for you, the action is the place where you don't feel good enough, where you could do better, you should have done better, maybe you can do better, maybe you can just better, because then if it's better, then it's better, because you've been taught to strive. And I think you're at an age right now, you said 36?
37.
37, yeah. So late 30s for a woman is a time when you are transitioning out of being, how I like to say, the princess stage. You're a late princess, and princess is not it's not an insult. It's not a pejorative term. It's a term I'm using for young women and everything that a young woman faces and deals with. And you are approaching 40, and once a woman hits 40, to me, she's on the Queen in Training program.
Okay.
Okay? And right now, to me, you are very diligently and steadily leaving behind some of your past. And what the past is that you're wanting to leave behind is the guilt, the shame, the perfectionism, which so many young women are taught to carry around. So the fact that you had body image challenges or issues or concerns and you're already feeling that and seeing that from a young age, that's a product of being alive on planet Earth. There's almost no escaping it. So it's almost nobody's fault. It's what the world teaches us. If you're a woman and you're alive on planet Earth, there's a good chance you're going to be contending with body image at some point. It's part of the package.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that you're in a place now where, to me, you're getting ready to graduate to another place, but in a whole different way than you've done before. And you're not quite sure how to do that, but you know you have to. And you're not sure how to do that, and you know you have to. The good news is, it's not so bad. The good news is what you're facing, all things considered, when you look at your life, the good news is good relationship, beautiful place, you're doing work that you love, you're setting yourself up for a long time to have a career that is satisfying to you. You're setting yourself up to earn a living at helping others. That's something you value. You're setting yourself up for one of your other values, which is health and yoga and growth and take care of yourself and feel good while helping people. So you're doing all that. You're setting that up. So that's the good news. Where perfectionism starts to get you is that it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And a little voice starts to come into your head, and it's probably a voice that nobody else sees and nobody else hears. It's very private for you. And that's okay. It's totally okay. And what I want to say is that you and this thing about being perfect or better and better and better, you have to turn this into a yoga practice. So a yoga practice means you get on the mat and you do yoga, and some days you're stiff, and some days you're tight, and some days you're annoyed, and some days you're angry, and some days you feel great, and some days you want to be here, and some days you don't. But the practice means you show up. Mm-hmm. And the practice means you do the posture, and you do the breathing, and you do your best. And the practice means you love yourself and you forgive yourself, even though the girl next to you does the pose better. Or even though the person next to you is taller, skinnier, whatever. We do our best. So right now, my feeling for you is that it would be a great idea to take the practice called noticing my perfectionism, noticing how it sends me into guilt, noticing how it sends me into really, here's the thing. A lot of times, like you mentioned to me that you can go through a day and really not attend to your body on a certain level. Even though you're teaching yoga and even though you're running your business, you don't attend to your nourishment.
Right.
And on one level, that's totally understandable. Just so you know, you're a business owner and there's a lot to do. And sometimes when you have a kid or you have a business, you have to sacrifice certain things. Certain things fall a little bit by the wayside. So it's not going to be perfect. So given that it's not going to be perfect, you can't have the perfect lifestyle, how can you do your best within those circumstances, even though it's not perfect? And how can you find the place where you can be okay that it's not perfect? That's the target I want to see you shoot for. So it's not going to look exactly how it should be. It's going to look a little messy sometimes. It's going to look like, okay, today I ate well and I took care of myself, and the next day, whoops, I went through a whole day and I really didn't eat, and then at the end of the day I was eating a lot. So, but I think the key piece here for you is you are in a place where you have to more consciously step into your womanhood. Consciously stepping into your womanhood means letting go of the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you abandon the little girl. It just means the little girl in you that wants it to be just so. The little girl in you that just wants it to be perfect and wants everybody to say, this is great, this is good, congratulations, you're exactly where you need to be, you did it. It's all...
I'm used to that. It's funny that you say that, because I'm used to be recognized, for my efforts. And I think that's something that changing careers has changed, right? I have publications or receive awards for my research, or receive, awards for my degrees on high school or primary school, and these kind of things. I'm used to.
Yes.
To be recognized, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing. And when we're young, when we're of prince age and princess age, we need that outside feedback coming from the world that says, you're good, you're great, we love you, congratulations, because that helps build our ego structure. It helps us feel good about ourselves. Because as young people, we need that. We need the outside world to tell us, and now you're transitioning out of that. You're transitioning out of being more self-referenced and more self-sufficient in that way. And I believe that that's right now, that's actually what the struggle is. The struggle is you're growing. You're actually growing, and you're going through growing pains right now.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're feeling guilty, whenever you're feeling ashamed about food, it's actually a growing pain. Because you're growing out of needing outside approval, you're growing outside of needing perfection and everything just right, look just right, feel just right, do it just right, achieve just right, to you have to be able to congratulate yourself and love yourself no matter what happens today. So even if it's not a great day, even if not enough people show up for the class, you still have to congratulate yourself for moving to Hawaii and starting a whole new career and a whole new business. Even though you didn't eat perfectly today, you still have to love yourself because you're doing your best and you have a lot to do. And maybe you didn't have enough time today. Or maybe I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't find it to take care of myself today. Now, can you step into doing what a woman would do, which is not beat herself up, not self-attack, but go, oh, deep breath and forgive. And deep breath and not abandon yourself. There's a place where you leave yourself when you're not doing it just right.
Mm-hmm.
You become not your friend anymore. So I'm asking, so to me, you have a great piece of work to do. And when I say great, it's I'm wanting you to see how good you have it. I'm wanting you to acknowledge, wow, if this is the challenge I have to work with, I'm in a damn good place. You know what I'm saying? You don't always notice that. Always. So to me, you're doing the kind of work that elevates you more into your womanhood. It's not about getting control of your food. It's not so yes it is, but it's not really that. It's not about getting control of your food. It's not about finally loving my body. It's not even that. It's more about learning how to treat yourself like a woman. So for a woman, for an adult, even though she's not having a great day, she still stands by herself. Even though she looks in the mirror and might not think it's perfect, or even though she looks at how she ate that day and it's not perfect, she still stands by herself. So it's you invoking, calling forth another part of you that wants to be louder, that wants to be born more, as opposed to my sweet tooth. Do you see the distinction I'm trying to make here for you? Am I making any sense? Is this landing for you? Tell me what's happening in your world over there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I feel, and it's part. Then I go back into the same cycle. Sometimes I feel like I'm not grateful enough for everything I have. Right, like you say, there are days where I'm really amazed myself from everything, that I've accomplished and being able to not be in fear and take a leap of faith, living my successful scientific career and, jumping into a whole new world and pursuing what I call my passion or my calling at the time without really knowing, what's going to happen and having, being strong enough or being, fearless, jumping into that and being able, to come here and still, succeed in whatever level we are at right now. Some days I'm connected to that and I'm very grateful, and those days are the ones that, like when you were asking me before, those days are the ones where I feel more calm, right? Because I'm more present and aware and connected and don't get, the negative thinking get too much in my head. I know you are right. And sometimes also I feel like, what am I complaining about, right? Like I have so much has given to me. I'm healthy, I have so much to be grateful for. But still there are days where it's not good enough,
Yes.
There are days where I still feel it's not good enough. And of course it makes sense what you say. I think that for me the biggest challenge is to be present, every day if I can. And it's something that I'm trying for a while, and I always, struggle to make it a daily thing, but to have a habit, of waking up, being grateful, or do some early yoga practice, that can ground me and stay connected. And then that, usually those days are the ones that I the most positive or the most present and happy, right? But I know I don't have probably many issues, and sometimes I feel, what am I complaining about? Like I said before, right? I don't want to repeat myself, but it makes sense what you're saying. Yeah. At this moment, like I'm aware, everything that you said, I'm aware of. Sometimes I don't know how to put it into practice, into a daily thing.
Yes. So let me make some suggestions about how to put it into practice. First of all, it's understanding what you're trying to practice. Part of it is practicing gratitude. But certain days you will not feel grateful. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong if you wake up and you're not feeling grateful and you're not feeling okay. I actually want you to notice what you're feeling on those days. I want you to embrace it, and I want you to have a moment where you can love that part of you that doesn't feel grateful. Yeah, this is me not feeling grateful, and I can still even love myself despite the fact that I got this great life and I'm not feeling grateful. It's a slight difference. So love yourself even through the struggle. I don't even need you to change that. It's just a moment of compassion for yourself. As opposed to, okay, well, let me get on the yoga mat and fix this. I don't want you to get on the yoga mat and fix it so quickly. I want you to be with yourself and first feel what you're feeling and have a moment to be that woman who's feeling not grateful and feeling not good about herself and feeling like she could do better, and just be with her for a moment. So maybe in a way this is where the mother in you is wanting to be born, which is to be a little bit more motherly towards yourself in those moments. But I mean the kind of loving mother that just loves her daughter no matter what. I love you even though you're not feeling good about yourself. I love you even though you're not getting on the yoga mat right now. So that's a practice. It's a practice to love yourself in the moment. So you say, I don't know always how to do that. I think more important, it's not always easy for you. I understand. It's not always easy for me to get on a yoga mat and do a pose. It's not easy. I don't want to do it. I'm tight. I'm resistant. I'm whatever. I don't even know what I'm feeling. I just don't want to do it. So we breathe. We relax a little bit. We let go a little bit. We love ourselves in that moment. Yeah, this is me being resistant. And there's something on the other side of that. But I want you to think of you, I want you to find an image, find a visualization for yourself that works for you of what the woman in you looks like, the woman in you who takes care of herself and stands by herself, no matter what. Even when she's not perfect. Even when she's not doing everything right. So, I'm just wanting you to be able to stand by the girl in you, the woman in you, who's not doing it right. As opposed to constantly be pushing yourself to make yourself better. You see the difference? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes we got to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit for you. And you do that when you do that, and you don't when you don't. So maybe in those moments when you don't know how to love yourself, I want you to have a reference point, have a visualization. Oh, there's a certain times when I'm really able to drop in with myself. What times are those? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And to be able to breathe that in whenever you find yourself starting to talk too much. A lot of times when that voice starts to take over, that's when you need to start breathing and catching yourself. Once the voice takes over and you let it take over, that's when you don't know what to do. So, other thoughts you're having right now? Questions, concerns?
Not that I can think of, but it's right that you say it's correct. I have been always taught that I think too much, and thinking too much sometimes is not very beneficial, especially when I'm in that place where I'm not my best friend, yeah, like you say. But I like what you say. I like what you say. I know I have to work on that. And I'm doing the program that you guys offer and having, the little highlights and the little homework throughout the whole week. I'm just at the beginning first half of the program. Haven't finished it yet, but it has helped me a lot. Helped me a lot with that kind of thinking, with that kind of thoughts, and to being aware. But I know I have that work to do, right? And I don't expect it to be perfect, even though I say I expect things to be perfect. I know it's a lifelong journey, and I know it's part of us as humans, struggle with the things that we see around, because we senses and our minds sometimes tend to fool us and tend to, we get confused sometimes, giving importance to things that sometimes are not the most important, and just we make our life more complicated than they should be.
Yeah. And plus, your previous career, you made a living out of using your mind and being very smart. That's a great thing. So that's a great superpower to have, but it can also get in your way because then you get accustomed to solving problems with your brain, in your mind.
Yeah.
And this is a challenge that doesn't get solved in that way. It's a whole different set of tools and techniques that have nothing to do with logical, linear thinking necessarily. And it has everything to do with being quiet and feeling, and many times not using your mind, and dropping in and just making contact with you and feeling yourself and not having any words.
Yeah. That's really hits the point, the spot, because when I'm struggling, I tend to, bring out my books, like my planner, and I try to, how am I going to fix this? And I make like a whole set of goals and how, the action and the planning. And I like to plan, like to have control and to fool myself feeling, that I have control of these things. So, and it's something that's why when you ask me, where do I see yourself in 5 years, is something that I'm trying to stop myself from going, because that's exactly my mindset. That's what when I have a trouble, either it could be relationship, a family, or business, I always try to, how am I going to fix this, and have a plan of action and expected, results, and always feeling that I have control. And from my early age, like I say, when food was something for me that when things will get out of the way, it's not that bad right now, but food was something that I was able to control, I was able to control and to be, this is something that I'm going to eat what I want to eat, and it's something that I'm slowly, letting go of, knowing that I do have the choice, I do have control, but also something that I didn't mention, I don't know if it's matters at this point right now, when we're almost finished, but when growing up, I'm very sensitive to certain type of food, and there are certain things that I don't like eating, and as a child, I always was kind of forced to eat things that I didn't want to. So that came in part of my looking forward to, grow up, 17 years old, left my parents' house and move out, far away, have my own place, pursue my college degrees and everything. But I remember that sense of freedom that I can control now my food. And that was one thing that I was, when I think about it, it's like a little bit crazy, but that was something very powerful for me. And that was a time when I became a little bit more, more anorexic and more took it to the extreme, pursuing my studies and having, everything planned and control how I wanted it to be. But because I had that freedom and without, realizing that I always had that freedom, But it's something that controlling mind that I have and that controlling personality that I have, it's something that I have to work on, and still up to this stage, it's getting a little bit better as I grow older. Hopefully I come to a place where I'm satisfied, but it's something that I always try to, have that control.
Yes. So the good news is you're aware of that. That's a great thing. The good news is you understand you have to work on that. That's a great thing. But what I want to tell you is you don't have to work as hard as you think.
That's good news.
Yeah. You don't have to work so hard to control this, especially, okay, I got to plan this out. I got to take out all the books. I got to figure out a system. I got to have this approach, and I got to do all these new rules, and I got to do all these new regulations now. A lot of times the work is just deep breath, let go. Deep breath, let go. And just feel the feeling of just letting go a little bit. That's simple. Just feeling the breath in and the breath out of what it feels like to just let go of a breath and not have to do anything. The breath just comes out. So, yeah, there's a place where we have to effort in life. There's a place where we have to work. And there's also places where we just have to let go and surrender. And you're learning this other part. You're learning let go and surrender. And it doesn't come easy for most people because it doesn't seem natural. It's like, it seems like giving up. It seems like, wait a second, I need control because control got me where I am today, and control makes me feel good about myself, and control makes me feel safe, and control doesn't really work so much anymore.
Giving up, it's another word that definitely triggers me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're not giving up, you're letting go, which is very different, because letting go is another way to get what you want oftentimes. It's not like you're letting go and giving up and losing something. You're letting go as a way to let life in. Yeah, part of it is there's a bigger wisdom going on here that's running the show. The bigger wisdom that's in control. You can't forget that, yeah?
Yeah, we do. I tend to forget that, absolutely.
Yeah. So what I think is that you're on a beautiful journey. You're on a beautiful path. You have been tremendously successful in your life. And you've made a huge transition, a huge career transition, a life transition, and a lifestyle transition. And I'm sure that hasn't been easy, but you've done it in a graceful way, and here you are. And now you're looking at bettering yourself in this certain part of your life where you're just moving some dials and just making it better. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm over here just saying, job well done. You can give yourself some credit. You can even celebrate a little bit. Like really, it would be great for you to celebrate your successes more. And maybe even redefine what success means for you these days.
Right.
Yeah. I really appreciate our conversation. I really appreciate you being so willing.
I'm the one that's thankful. Yeah, I appreciate the job that you guys do. The job that you guys do, it's amazing. It's really, I always like to say, people who are of service like you guys are, they have earned place of heaven, right? You guys are, I'm lucky to have this one-on-one session with you, that I always admire you and Emily, but following your work, everything that you put online, your free courses, free ebooks and everything, it helps tremendously, to help to find ourselves, because the more and more I do what I'm doing now, I come across so many people who struggle daily, who struggle and need so much help. So little things, and I'm always sharing, I'm always, referring people to your place, to your website and stuff, because I feel that you guys do an amazing job, and I'm tremendously grateful for everything you do, and especially for this opportunity to talking with you.
That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we get to have a follow-up session in a handful of months. So somebody from the team will reach out and we'll schedule a time to just connect again and revisit and see how you're doing.
Okay. Hopefully by that time I have finished the program and I find myself in a more peaceful present moment.
Yay. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Mark David on behalf of the Psychology of Eating podcast. Take care. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening to the Psychology of Eating podcast. To learn more about the breakthrough body of work we teach here at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, please sign up for our free video series at ipe.tips. That's I for Institute, P for Psychology, E for Eating.tips, TIPS. You'll learn about the cutting-edge principles of dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition that have helped millions of people forever transform their relationship with food, body, and health.